How we doing, chat? Hope you guys are doing well. Just got done hooping. I got new hooping shoes today. They came in today. Shout out to Sabrina's, Nike Sabrina's. I was very pleased with them. I felt very stable with my feet. Felt like I could turn around the corners a lot better, which is very nice. I could talk more about it, but I had a good day today. Hope you guys had a good one also. It's going to be a short reading today due to the sequence of the chapter, but let's get into it. Let's waste no more time. Symptoms of lack of persistence. Here you will find the real enemies that stand between you and noteworthy achievement. Here you will find not only the symptoms indicating weakness of persistence, but also the deepest seated subconscious causes of this weakness. Study the list carefully and face yourself squarely if you really wish to know who you are and what you are capable of doing. These are the weaknesses that must be mastered by all who accumulate riches. Number 1, fortune to recognize and clearly define exactly what you want. Number 2, procrastination with or without cause, usually backed up with a form of formidable area of alibis and excuses. Number 3, lack of interest in acquiring specialized knowledge. Number 4, indecision, the habit of passing the buck on all occasions instead of facing issues squarely, also backed by alibis. Number 5, the habit of relying upon alibis instead of creating defined plans for the solution of problems. Number 6, satisfaction. There is but little remedy for this affliction and no hope for those who suffer from it. Number 7, indifference, usually reflected in your readiness to compromise on all occasions rather than meet opposition and fight it. Number 8, the habit of blaming others for your mistakes and accepting unfavorable circumstances as being unavoidable. Number 9, weakness of desire due to neglect in the choice of motives that impel action. Number 10, willingness, even eagerness to quit at the first sign of defeat based upon one or more of the 6 basic fears. Number 11, lack of organized plans placed in writing where they may be analyzed. Number 12, the habit of neglecting to move on ideas or to grasp opportunity when it presents itself. Number 13, wishing instead of willing. Number 14, the habit of compromising with poverty instead of aiming at riches, a general absence of ambition to be, to do, and to own. Number 15, searching for all the shortcuts to riches, trying to get without giving a fair equivalent, usually reflected in the habit of gambling or endeavoring to drive short bargains. Number 16, fear of criticism, failure to create plans and to put them into action because of what other people will think, do, or say. This enemy belongs at the head of the list because it generally exists in the subconscious mind without being recognized. See the 6 basic fears in chapter 15. Let us examine some of the symptoms of the fear of criticism. The majority of people permit relatives, friends, and the public are at large to so influence them that they cannot live their own lives because they fear criticism. Huge numbers of people make mistakes in marriage, stand by the bargain, and go through life miserable and unhappy because they fear criticism that may follow if they correct the mistake. Anyone who has submitted in this form of fear knows the irreparable damage it does by destroying ambition, self-resilience, and the desire to achieve. Millions of people neglect to acquire belated educations after having left school because they fear criticism. Countless numbers of men and women, both young and old, permit relatives to wreck their lives in the name of duty because they fear criticism. Duty does not require any person to submit to the destruction of their personal ambitions and the right to live their life in their own way. People refuse to take chances in business because they fear the criticism they may follow if they fail. The fear of criticism in such cases is stronger than the desire for success. Too many people refuse to set high goals for themselves or even neglect selecting a career because they fear the criticism of relatives and friends who may say, "Don't aim so high, people will think you are crazy." When Andrew Carnegie suggested that I devote 20 years to the organization of a philosophy of individual achievement, my first impulse of thought was fear of what people might say. The suggestion set up a goal for me far out of proportion to any I had ever conceived. As quick as a flash, my mind began to create alibis and excuses all of them traceable to the inherent fear of criticism. Something inside me saying you can't do it. The job is too big and requires too much time. What will your relatives think of you? How will you earn a living? No one has ever organized a philosophy of success, so what right have you to believe you can do it? Who are you anyway to aim so high? Remember your humble birth. What do you know about philosophy? People will think you are crazy, and they did. Why hasn't some other person done this before now? These and many other questions flashed into my mind and demanded attention. It seemed as if the whole world had suddenly turned its attention to me with the purpose of ridiculing me into giving up all desire to carry out Mr. Carnegie's suggestion. I had a fine opportunity then and there to kill off ambition before it gained control of me. Later in life, after being analyzed thousands of people, I discovered that most ideas are still born and need the brief of life injected into them through defined plans or immediate action. The time to nurse an idea is at the time of its birth. Every minute it lives gives it a better chance of surviving. The fear of criticism is at the bottom of the destruction of most ideas that never reach the planning and action stage. Another good example of a person who refused to accept the criticism of others and persist in pursuing his dreams is Fred Smith, whose success in creating and developing Federal Express has described in the previous chapter. Many people believe that material success is the result of favorable breaks. There is an element of ground for the belief, but those depending entirely upon luck are nearly always disappointed because they overlook another important factor that must be present before one can be sure of success. It is the knowledge with which favorable breaks can be made to order. Let's look at Tom Monaghan, who created and grew Domino's Pizza from a one-store pizza parlor to a chain of several thousand home delivery outlets over a period of about 30 years. In 1989, he decided to sell his hugely successful company to concentrate instead of doing philanthropic work. However, his plan did not work out. After 2.5 years, the company that purchased the chain almost drove it to bankruptcy, so Monaghan came back. It took much hard work and persistence to first rebuild and then expand the organization. Monaghan had developed the necessary determination early in his life. He had overcome a childhood of deprivation, poverty, and abuse to become a great entrepreneur. Now, once again, he mobilized all his efforts not only to return Domino to its original prominence, but to expand it to 6,000 stores, of which 1,100 are in countries other than the United States. Once the chain was back on its feet, Monaghan faced a new and serious challenge. Domino built its major promotion on its guarantee of fast delivery. It guaranteed the customer would get their pizza within 30 minutes. This led to a series of lawsuits from people who claimed injury from incidents caused by Domino's delivery drivers who were speeding to make the 30-minute deadline. The family of a woman allegedly killed by a Domino's driver was awarded $3 million. The final blow came when another woman was awarded $78 million after the Domino dropped the 30-minute guarantee. Despite this financial catastrophe, Monaghan refused to give up. He plugged more money, time, and energy into the company and brought it back once again. By his persistence and positive attitude, he forged ahead and inspired his team with the winning spirit that has made Domino number one in its industry. Examine the first 100 people you meet. Ask them what they want most in life, and 98 of them will not be able to tell you. If you press them for an answer, some will say security, many will say money, a few will say happiness, others will say fame and power, and still others will say social recognition, ease in living, ability to sing, dance, or write, but none of them will be able to define their terms, though these terms can give the slightest indication of a plan by which they hope to attain these vaguely expressed wishes. Riches do not respond to wishes, they respond only to defined plans backed by defined desires through consistent persistence. Very interesting story about Domino's. Being at such a catastrophic situation with the lawsuits due to its promotional idea around 30-minute delivery. But one thing I definitely want to talk about is more along the lines of what people have to say about your own career path. And I find this very fascinating. I think it talked about a lot about it. And I think this is something that I definitely preach with myself, is that, excuse my language, but don't give a fuck what other people have to say. If you think you're capable of doing something, then go out there and achieve it. Doesn't matter what other people may think. Yeah, maybe it might be a good idea sometimes to be like, hey, am I crazy? But for those individuals that think that you are incapable of doing something, or that you aren't in the right time, or shouldn't be in that opportunity, or people who talk behind your back, don't listen to those people. Listen to your heart, listen to your mind, and listen to your abilities. Listen to your character and your personality, and ask yourself these questions of, do I have what it takes? And if you think in your mind you do, go out there and do it. But if you think you like a little bit of preparation, work on it. Work on it and go out there and still try to achieve it. So that's my 2 cents on that. I thought that, the story was great about Domino's, but definitely one thing that I can't stress about is, don't listen to other people. Listen to your heart and listen to your character and your abilities. So yeah, see you guys tomorrow. Peace.